Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all of you. I'm as representative number 1. My name is Muhammad Hazim Ashraf bin Mazlan. We want to discuss about the subject is basic component in HVAC system. Our topic is we choose how the system works, and we're gonna talk about 4 basic component of refrigeration system in air conditioning. Okay, so I will cover about compressor and metering device. So shall we start? Okay, firstly, I'm gonna discuss about the compressor. So what is compressor in HVAC system? So compressor is the device which is used to increase the pressure of air from low pressure to high pressure by using some external energy. And compressor also increase the temperature after it's increase the pressure in the system. Okay, and compressor has two types. First, positive displacement and dynamic. So when we look at the positive displacement, it has two types. We can separate it. First, reciprocating and rotary. On the dynamic type compressor, we have centrifugal and axial. Okay, reciprocating compressor working principle. As we know, the diagram is at the bottom. The reciprocating compressor is when a volume of air is drawn into the cylinder. It is trapped and compressed by piston and the discharge into the discharge line. The cylinder valve controls the flow of air through the cylinder. You can see that. Okay, and there are three types in the reciprocating compressor. First is single acting, double acting, and multi-stage. The single acting act as one cylinder. The double acting is working as two cylinder, and the multi-stage working the combination of the double acting and the single acting. Okay. Next, we move on to centrifugal compressor. The centrifugal compressor depends on transfer of energy from rotating impeller to the air. The rotor accomplishes this by changing the momentum and pressure of the air. The momentum is converted to useful pressure by slowing the air down in stationary diffuser. There are some benefits of centrifugal compressor. First, the capacity is 10,000 tons per unit. Second, higher efficiency under partial load. And lastly, lower maintenance. The limitation of the centrifugal compressor is capital cost premium required for high quality material, higher precision machining. And we can look at the centrifugal compressor diagram. It has a impeller. The impeller is rotating, thus it will produce the high pressure in the compressor. And lastly, we're gonna go through the rotary scroll compressor. A rotary scroll compressor is used to compress larger volume of gases refrigerant to a higher pressure and temperature via a fixed and orbital scroll. The cool vapor refrigerant is drawn in from outside the fixed scroll, then compress it between the fixed and the orbital scroll. And finally, the compressed refrigerant is discharged from the center of the fixed scroll with a continuous displacement. And the rotary scroll compressor can be classified as the drive speed compressor. There are also three operations: suction, compression, and discharge. And so the benefits of rotary scroll compressor is higher reliability due to a simpler structure. Second, higher efficiency due to less losses because there is no clearance. And lastly, less vibration. And the limitation of the rotary scroll compressor has lower efficiency and smaller capacity between the rotary scroll and centrifugal. Next, we go on the metering device. Function of metering device in air conditioning system is to control the flow of refrigerant in the system. Second, to reduce the liquid refrigerant from high pressure to low pressure. Okay, there are several types of metering device in air conditioning system, such as thermostatic expansion valve (TXV), automatic expansion valve (AXV), capillary tube, and fixed orifice. We're gonna talk about the TXV first. Okay, the TXV is known as thermal expansion valve. It's a modulating type of metering device that fit the appropriate amount of refrigerant of the evaporator. They have two types: externally equalized valve and internally equalized valve. How does the AAV expansion valve work? The AAV work when the pressure expansion valve as it maintain constant pressure under all the evaporator loading condition without regard to the evaporator superheat. So it keeps the evaporator pressure constant by modulating the flow of the refrigerant into the evaporator. The automatic expansion valve is not like the capillary tube as it increase and decrease the amount of refrigerant feeding into the evaporator by opening and closing, and it does it all in responses to the pressure of the refrigerant in evaporator. The capillary tube metering device has a long length and small diameter. It causes less friction loss due to the travel through the tube, and it may result in flash evaporation because of the reason that pressure drop can bring the liquid lower than the saturation pressure for its temperature. And lastly, we're gonna talk about the fixed orifice metering device. The fixed orifice metering device is a small brass piston with a precisely drilled hole through which the refrigerant is forced to the flow. This causes a pressure drop in the same manner that a capillary line does. The device can be placed in a cylinder where it is allowed to slide to one end or the other. So that's all for my discussion. My friend will continue the next discussion, the representative number 2. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Ashraf Rizukupli. I'm from class BMMH1/1. Today I'm here want to give a short briefing about evaporator. The function of the evaporator is to remove heat from the refrigerated space or product. Also in the evaporator there are latent heat which is used to to boil the refrigerant and to convert the refrigerant from the liquid to gas without change the temperature. And also there are sensible heat in the evaporator is to change the state of substance without change its temperature. And now we go to the type of evaporator. Generally we know there are 5 types of evaporator. The first one is a bare tube. This type is made up of copper tubing or steel pipes. For copper tubing, it is used for small evaporator, and the refrigerant is used other than ammonia. For the steel pipes is used for larger evaporator, and the ammonia is mainly refrigerant is used. Usually this type of evaporator used for liquid chilling. The next one is a plate type of evaporator. This one is widely used in the domestic refrigeration. Usually this type made of copper and aluminium. This type has a more rigid body because the external plate provides lots of safety. And also this type can be welded together for larger evaporators of higher capacities. The third one is a fin type of evaporator. Basically this type of evaporator is a bare tube but covered with the fin. This type is more effective than the bare tube, and commonly this type is used in air conditioners like a window unit, split unit, package unit, and central air conditioning system. The fourth one is shell and tube types. This type is used in larger refrigeration system and central air conditioning system. There are 2 methods in this type. Method 1 is a dry expansion, which is refrigerant is flow along the tube's side and fluid to be chilled flows along shell side. For the flood method is a refrigerant flows in the shell side, fluid to be chilled flows along the tube. And the last one is a shell and coil. This one have one more spiral shaped bare tube coil enclosed in steel shell. Generally dry expansion type with refrigerant in coil and chill liquid in shell. Have thermal capacity for application for high by infrequent loads. Used for chilling drinking water and other aspect of cleanliness is effective.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ahmad Taufik Behaki, and I will talk about condenser. Firstly, what is the function of condenser? The function of condenser is to transfer heat from refrigerant to another medium, such as air, water, or both of them. How it function? By rejecting heat, the gaseous refrigerant will condense to liquid in the condenser, so the heat will release to the air or to the water. Okay, we have 3 types of condenser. Firstly, we have water cooled condenser. Second, evaporative condenser. Third, air-cooled condenser. Okay, firstly we will talk about water-cooled condenser. How it operates. Firstly, the condenser is the system component responsible for rejecting system heat. Second, condenser reject both latent and sensible heat. Third, water condenser are more efficient than air-cooled condenser. There are 3 types of water-cooled condenser. Firstly, the tube, Witten tube, shell and coil, and the shell and tube. Lastly, mineral deposit in the water circuit reduce the heat transfer rate between water and the refrigerants. Okay, how about the advantage and disadvantage of this condenser? The advantage is high thermal conductivity of water, high specific heat water. Third, less flow rate required, and high heat transfer coefficient. And lastly, high COP. Okay, the disadvantage of this condenser: large installation and maintenance costs. Pump is required for water circulation. Large energy consumption. Okay. Evaporative condenser. The evaporation of some provided the cooling effect there by steam condenser. Second, steam to be condensed is passed through grill tube. Cooling water is sprayed over outer surface of tube. And lastly, the evaporator condenser are more suitable for small plant where supply of cool water is limited. The advantage: simple in design and low initial cost. Second, low quantity cooling water required. Third, small capacity cooling water pump. And lastly, low operation cost. Okay, how about the disadvantage? Okay, vacuum maintain is less. Due to less vacuum, work done per kg of steam is less. Not suitable for medium and large power plant. Lastly, we will talk about air-cooled condenser, the operation. This is condenser which the remove of heat is done by air. These condensers are the most popular type used on small commercial and domestic refrigerant and air conditioner unit, like split unit, for example. They consist of tail of copper tubing through which the refrigerant flow. And lastly, tubes are usually provided with plate fins to increase the surface area for heat transfer. The advantage of air-cooled condenser: used in location where water difficult to use. Very simple construction, low initial cost and maintenance cost. Third, less piping work to do, less chance of falling. And lastly, very easy to clean. Okay, the advantage of this air-cooled condenser: less specific heat capacity of air, large flow rate of air is required, low thermal conductivity, small heat transfer coefficient of air, and lastly, less COP. That's all for me. Thank you.